Finally, in this section of the menu, we find groups and rules. Groups is where you will set up the group structure for your company. Users can be assigned access levels that include the entire company or only one or more groups or subgroups. This is in addition to the user clearance levels that specify what they can and cannot do within the system. Vehicles and assets are also assigned to groups, giving the administrator full control over what vehicles other users can and cannot see. The group structure is the basis for this control. Your account manager and our business analysts can assist you in setting up a group structure that makes sense for your company. The rules engine is one of the most powerful tools in the Geotab application. And the reason groups and rules are in this section together is that they are used in tandem to give you flexibility to create a unique set of rules for each group of vehicles. The rules, for instance, for a hard braking event for a passenger car are going to be different than for a heavy-duty truck, which requires more distance to come to a full stop. With your vehicles in appropriate groups, we can create multiple rules with different parameters and apply the rules appropriately to the groups of vehicles, eliminating false positives. The rules are arranged based on the 5 pillars of fleet management: safety, fleet optimization, productivity, compliance, and expandability. There's also a section with some special functions that are unique to specific sectors or that are achieved with additional add-on hardware and software. The default safety rules are pretty basic. You can simply turn them on or turn them off if the default rule is appropriate to your entire fleet. We can edit a rule to create a custom rule when we need to have multiple harsh braking rules or multiple hard acceleration rules based on different groups of vehicles. The rules that are associated with work hours allow you to choose the work hours group to apply to that rule. And if you need different rules for different shifts, you can create the appropriate custom rules. These are the default productivity rules, the default fleet optimization rules, the default compliance and sustainability rules. And here we have some default rules specific for materials management in the public works sector. Down at the bottom of your rules list, you'll see all of the advanced rules that have been created from the basic rules or custom rules that you've created from scratch. To create a rule from scratch, go back to the top of the page and click on the Add button. Then, as usual, fill out the form. For example, let's say we want to create a rule for stopping in a home zone during work hours. First, we give the rule a descriptive name so that you know which rule is which if you ever need to change them. We want it to be visible on the map, and next we choose a color for it. These are default colors, but you do have access to the entire rainbow for our clients who love their color coding. We select the group that this rule is going to apply to. And if we want to put some comments in, we can. Now for the conditions of the rule. We pick the items off the menu that make sense for creating this rule. We can choose one specific zone or a group of zones based on a zone type. For this rule, we'll select zone type and then home zones. I want to know when this vehicle is inside any zone of this zone type, but only during work hours, and only if it stays there for longer than 35 minutes. Here is where we can get very specific and fine-tune a rule to only trigger an exception when all of these conditions occur. We can even change the logic from and to or as we add the conditions for the rule. So far, we have inside home zone types, and I'm going to add the duration of 35 minutes and only during our standard work hours. As you can see, I can create a very complex rule in just a few clicks. The More button is where we access additional parameters, such as adding our work hours to the rule. I'll add for our standard work hours and add that to the rule. If I want to add another condition, let's say, for instance, with the ignition on, I just add the additional parameter to the rule. And if I make an error, I can always undo the last step. Once we have the rule completed, we'll make some choices regarding how we want to be notified when there is an exception to the rule. My rule of thumb is to only send email or text message alerts if I need to stop what I'm doing and take action as soon as I know an exception has occurred. For instance, if a possible collision was triggered or my excessive speeding rule is broken. Too many email and text message alerts will just become noise, and you'll ignore them all. We can easily set up daily or weekly reports for exceptions that do not warrant your immediate attention. Back to the notification choices. We can do email or text messaging notifications. We can create custom notification templates or use the default email templates in the system. Just select the users you want to notify off your list, or type in the text messaging or email address if you want to send a notification to a user that is not in the system. We can also alert with on-screen pop-ups. We can choose whose screen the pop-ups will occur on. We can select log only, which will populate to the notifications area, or we can make no choices at all in this area if we plan to schedule an exceptions report. To summarize, pretty much anything that you want to be able to identify when it happens can be set up as a rule. And there are multiple ways you can be notified when that exception rule is triggered. If you want to remove a user from a rule, you can easily do that as well. And of course, when you're done, don't forget to save the rule. Now, when we scroll down to the bottom of the page, you'll see that we've created a rule for stopping in home zones during work hours for the Florida division. If we don't need that rule anymore, we can easily remove the rule. We can look for the specific exceptions to the rules that we've created by pulling the exceptions report at any time. Recently, I needed to know what day a service was performed in a specific location. I created a new zone for the location and named it Timber Ridge. Then I created a rule for time in that zone and reprocessed my historic data against the new zone and new rule. Now I'm going to click on Exceptions. In the Options window, I select my date range. I think the service was performed in September, but I'm really not sure, so a broader date range is going to be safer. Now I select all vehicles, and I also select the rule Time in Timber Ridge Zone and apply changes. In seconds, I'm able to see that there was only one stop in that zone. I can see exactly when it occurred, and I can view it on the map. I can just as easily pull an exceptions report for all of the exceptions that have occurred for all of the vehicles. From this summary view, I'm able to drill down into the report to see specific incidences. And I can pull up a visualization graph. I can pull this information into a PDF or Excel report that allows me to further sort and manipulate the data. Mining your data with groups and rules is limited only by your creativity.